Welcome back to the Zyori Podcast. Hello, and thank you for joining us here for podcast number 83. It's just about noon here, October 6th, 2015. We are back on the East Coast in America. That's right, folks. I've made it back to America after my long holiday on the European side of the Atlantic. It was good fun. We're going to talk about that in quite a bit of detail today on this podcast. And we're going to talk about ESL One New York. I've got all sorts of interesting anecdotes to share and mostly travel nightmares that I need to complain about. Get that shit off my chest, let it out there so that I can move on with my life. Because I have to admit, I don't think I've ever had a travel experience quite as bad as I did trying to get from Stockholm to Amsterdam, then from Amsterdam back over to New York. It seems like a pretty straightforward connection, but golly gracious me, it was awful. I'm still recovering from the madness that was ESL One New York. I still feel a little bit brain dead. I had maybe 6 days or so where sleep was minimal, caffeine intake was maximal, and well, that just leaves you with a brain dead Zyori here. But I have to admit, it does feel pretty good to be back in the States. I flew into the Newark airport. My stepmom picked me up. I took the train down to the Metro Park, and it's kind of cool to go driving through your home state and be like, wow, it's New Jersey. It's a shithole, but it's my shithole. I belong here. I really fit in. It's fun. It's cool when you leave for a while, how your perspective gets reset. You know, I remember a few years ago sitting in New Jersey being like, man, I can't wait to get the fuck out of New Jersey. It's terrible here. Why does anybody want to live here anyway? And to come back, it's weird to kind of have that feeling of, oh, this is my home. I recognize that grass. I recognize these people. Oh, what a nice feeling that is indeed. So, without much further ado, let's just go ahead and get right into it here. I am admittedly disorganized for this podcast. I've got very few notes except for what's going on up here in the old noodle. It's been a while since we podcasted. You know, I was actually really planning while I was in Europe to do a lot of podcast content. You know, the first few weeks I didn't really stream or anything. I did a couple streams with McQuanis, and once I got to Sweden, the plan was to just go ham with the streaming. And I didn't fucking feel like it. I really needed to take some time to just unplug and reset and not have to wake up and think about, okay, what are all the things I need to do today? Did I achieve what I needed to do today? I needed to take some days of just waking up and just doing. You know, wake up, I feel like playing Counter-Strike right now. Let's kill some terrorists. You know what? I feel like playing Dota right now. Let's rage at some people in some pub games. And it was really damn good. You know, podcasting for me is really fun when I have a lot to talk about. That's why the post-event podcasts always seem to be the best, because there's just so much shit to talk about after an event. There's always things that you see, people you talk to, stuff you did that you can report on. It gives you talking points. And some weeks when it's just, all right, I've been grinding, all right, I've been working on business development for Moonduck, there isn't really a lot that you can report because like 90% of that work is private until you announce it. So that leaves me with, hey, who wants to talk about Donald Trump, huh? I hear he's a cool guy. And, you know, somehow on the aside of politics here, I had a mental fart. I thought it was 2016, and I was thinking, man, the election, it's coming up real soon. Oh my God, Donald Trump is leading the polls. I think Trump might do it. And then last night, one of my friends told me, dude, we've got another year to go. There's still a year for Trump to fuck up and totally screw the pooch. You know, I was, oh, you're right. I feel like an idiot. That's how much in the Dota bubble I've been, that I've not only forgotten what day of the week, what month it is, I've also forgotten what year it is. And that is just fucking embarrassing, if I don't say so myself. So, all right, let's talk about ESL a little bit. So my travel began Thursday. As many of you know, I was working Dream League, and that was part of the tactful scheduling of my trip to Europe. And I knew Dream League would launch sometime around the end of September, and I really wanted to have the opportunity to do something with Dream League, because I always thought it was a cool event. Every time I've watched it, even back seasons ago when James was hosting, it always seemed like a lot of fun, and it's not that often that I'm on that side of the world and available to just, you know, sit down and, you know, pop onto the mic. And for them, it's expensive to fly somebody over from America for just a couple of days, but if I'm over there already, it gets a lot more cost effective for them to bring me in as a guest. And that was kind of my sales pitch. Of course, it worked like a charm, as I did end up on the couch for the opening week, and it was a blast. I really had a lot of fun. Their producer is really, really good. Their project manager is great as well. Really organized, and they make it really easy for talent to just come in, basically give you the run-through, you sit down, and you make jokes about Dota. It's really kind of a low-pressure environment. They just want you to be loose, be off the cuff, and those are the kind of work environments that are really fun to work in. And I was really glad that I had an event to kind of get me into the work zone before doing ESL, because it is actually kind of difficult difficult to go from, all right, I haven't done an event since TI, that was a few months ago, and now I'm hosting the biggest event of my life in New York City, Madison Square Garden Theater. You got to get into the mindset. Kind of like Nahaz was telling me, I got to get out of the mindset of giving lectures and get into the mindset of having a give and take on a panel. And it takes a little while to get your brain working the way you need it to. So it was really good for me to be able to work Dream League, and since the patch had just come out, it's not the biggest of patches, but there's still a lot of changes that you need to digest, and this meta is crazy. Like, we saw picks all over the place, and I'm glad that I got to do some analysis at Dream League and kind of get my feet wet with the patch, have some talking points, heroes that seemed kind of strong at Dream League, interesting if we'll see them at this tournament, yada, 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 sort of points like that. So the timing worked out really well in that sense. The difficulty came with the buffer day. Now, I learned a valuable lesson this travel adventure. Always give yourself a buffer day. And by buffer day, I mean a day where, if shit goes wrong, I didn't really have anything to do anyhow. Most lands don't really fly you in the day before it starts because of that very issue. If you miss a connection, if your flights get delayed, if a hurricane hits by chance, okay, my plane was delayed 12 hours, but I still have a whole day to prepare before the tournament starts. So I booked my own travel for this ESL event, and I was like, okay, I'm scheduled to land at noon on Friday. Rehearsals were scheduled to start at 2. I asked ESL if that was okay, and they were like, well, it's close, but I think it's doable. I think we can make this work. So the way I booked my travel to Europe is I just did a round trip from New York to Amsterdam, and then I scheduled it to land on the 2nd of October. That way, if I wasn't invited to ESL New York, I could still attend very easily, and I could land the day before. Just get a hotel, crash with one of my friends, just go up to the event, and then come back home to Jersey. And if I'm working the event, great. I land right before the whole thing begins. Now, while I was in Europe, I just booked a totally separate round trip from Amsterdam to Stockholm for the second half of my leg on my holiday. Now, the issue is truly with the buffer day, because when you don't have flights that are connected on the same ticket in terms of, okay, this is where I am, this is where I want to be, and I have all these connections. When that's the case and you miss a connection, it's on the airline to get you where you need to go. They're responsible for you while you're stuck in limbo. If you have 2 totally separate tickets from completely separate airlines that are located on different continents, they don't really give a shit if you miss your connection. And that's exactly what I did. I had a fairly tight layover in Amsterdam. It was a bit of a gamble when I booked it. If everything went okay and there were no delays, I absolutely could have made it. But I didn't. There were fog issues in Amsterdam. This is the first time I've been loaded up to a plane, sat there for about an hour, and then they come on the intercom and go, okay, yep, it's going to be another 2 hours. We can't take off. Everybody off the plane. So at this point, I had checked out of my hotel in Stockholm, gone to the Dream League studios early, around noon. Dream League starts at like 5 p.m. CEST. It goes until midnight, 12:30. I go back with the other talent. I hang out with Shane for a little while. Around 3:34, something like that, I take a taxi to the Stockholm airport. Bada boom, bada bing, go right through security because there's nobody in the airport at 3 in the morning, right? So you go in. My flight was scheduled to leave at 6. I got a little hour and a half power snoozer or so right in front of the gate on one of those nice comfy sofas. Not too bad. I'm thinking, all right, this is good. I got a little bit more sleep than I planned on. Now I just got to fly around, sleep on my flight back to America. I'll be in good shape. Land at noon, hit rehearsals. We're going to fucking knock this thing out of the park. So as I'm looking at the delays, I'm looking at my invisible watch going, holy fuck, I'm going to miss my connection. I don't know what to do, so fuck it. I'm just going to tunnel vision on where I am in the here and now. Of course, I land in Amsterdam. We take off an hour and a half after my flight was scheduled to land. So even though my flight going back to the States was delayed, I still completely missed it by like 2 hours or some shit. So I'm not the only one that had this issue in the airport. All of the KLM flights in Amsterdam were completely fucked up. The line to ask people what to do and how to make connections, it would have taken me an hour just to talk to a representative. So I have a sneaky suspicion I probably could have complained to United and made a case and cried and what have you, and possibly gotten them to get me a flight back to the States or rebook something that wouldn't be horribly expensive. But the problem was the timing. I needed to get there Friday night, and all of the United flights would have gotten me there around 2 p.m. on Saturday. Of course, that's halfway through ESL One. That would have been a fucking disaster, and I would have missed the whole event. So while I'm waiting in line to get through a checkpoint in the airport, not even to go to where I need to be to get on my next flight, just to go to talk to somebody about where I might need to go, was a 45-minute line. So while I'm standing there, luckily they've got free Wi-Fi. I'm furiously just like, motherfucker, goddammit, shit, motherfucker. And I'm just texting on my phone, cursing to myself. I find the dream flight. Iceland Air, an airline that no one gives a shit about. It's not full. It's like $900 for a one-way back. It leaves in 2 hours. Would get me in at 7 p.m. YOLO, pull out Papa's credit card, book that shit on the spot. I leave the line, say, fuck this isn't for me, and I didn't even leave security. Just went straight to the gate, checked in on my phone, and it was Iceland Air to the rescue. So this added an extra leg to my journey. I had to stop in Reykjavik, but all things considered, it worked out pretty well. And to make up for it, I got the exit row seat in both of my flights from Stockholm, from Amsterdam to Reykjavik, then Reykjavik over to Newark. So I landed in Newark. Now I had to take the little tram over to the train station, then take the train into Penn Station there, right in the middle of New York, under Madison Square Garden. Had to rendezvous with my parents, who had my clothes for the event, and then I got to go to the hotel. I checked in. Then I had my crash course of like, all right, asshole, you missed all of the rehearsals. This is the rundown. This is what you're going to be doing. And at this point, I've been awake for like 36 hours, slept in little hour chunks on planes and what have you. I'm completely brain dead, completely fried, and just like, all right, seems pretty straightforward, what have you. Let's do this thing. Let's turn this mother out, as they say. So get back to the hotel. I get to sleep actually a good like 7 hours. Was rooming with Hani. We had some nice chit chat. Popped up early. My call time was earlier than everybody else on Saturday morning, so I could get another crash course. Go over the rundown again. All this stuff. We do the first rehearsal. It's a train wreck. I'm literally like still brain dead from the day before, just trying to digest the whole schedule. We get 5 minutes into the pre-show, and I just go, yeah, what's next on the docket? What are we doing? And I swear to God, like after the rehearsal, I felt so shitty about it. I was just thinking, production must be wondering who the fuck hired this guy and why is he here? What is happening? So there was just this magical moment where I went outside, I met up with my parents, they kind of said hi and hello, which they were attending the event, by the way, so there's that additional, like, all right, gotta make you proud, Mom. And I remember, like, just the look on my dad's face. He was like, hey, you feeling good? And I was just like, no, I feel terrible. And I was really, really nervous that the pre-show was going to be terrible, and we just have to kind of recover. And it was like, as soon as I heard that countdown, 3, 2, 1, ladies and gentlemen, and it was like I closed my eyes and this voice that I didn't know existed just came out. It was like the adrenaline finally hit. My brain said, okay, we're live. You can't fuck this up. And it just went all in. And I was really, really surprised at how well the pre-show went. At the end of it, I just thought, wow, that was really smooth. We hit all the points. We had really good back and forth. I had high energy. The hard part's done. Now it's just analyzing Dota. This is the easy, fun part. It's the opening is always the most difficult because you're coming in flat. You got to get pumped up. Then it's just maintaining that energy for the rest of the day. So it all ended up working out, but my God, was it a stressful experience. I was just in the Amsterdam airport, just bumper to bumper with people. It was like I was at a fucking rock concert. I had flashbacks of the Warped Tour, and I was at this point of just, I don't want to be traveling anymore. I don't want to be around people anymore. I just want to fucking have some space. Like, all I wanted to do was sit in front of a computer with my little notebook and just develop my talking points, come up with some back and forth for the panel. And I missed all of it. And I lost a lot of that time that I was planning on being able to prepare for the event. I mean, obviously, I still had a lot of notes in my little red journal, and I still had a lot of talking points, but a lot of that stuff you really need to develop as close to the event as possible because things change with recent picks, and, there were substitutions. At first, I thought it was Little Super that would be standing in for IG. Of course, it turned out to be King J. I didn't know that until the morning of the tournament. Those are the kind of things where, okay, would have liked to do a little more research on King J. I mean, I know who he is, but, what was the last event he played in? When was the last time he stood in for the team? All these little tidbits and talking points add to that storyline, things like that were missed out upon. So all things considered, it ended up working out pretty darn well. My clothes got there. I didn't realize, though, that my pants were going to be on camera. And on day one, I had a real bad crease on the leg that was facing the camera. And my God, as soon as I noticed it, that's all I could see. Anytime I looked at the stream, I just saw that little old wrinkle there. And as soon as fucking Dota Blast tweeted at me as the fashion police and let me know that it was there, oh God, it was driving me crazy. I just wish I had an iron in my pocket so that I could fix that little guy. I made sure to iron my pants for day 2. But it's really strange working those 2-day events because I'm used to the really long events, like the Star Ladders. It's 5 days of non-stop Dota 2 coverage. The 2 day events are like you spend so much time getting in the zone. It's like halfway through day 2, I'm like, all right, I finally got this down pat. I've got the rhythm. I got my tone. I know exactly the flow. And then show's over. Okay, cool. Let's party. Woo. And then that's it. You go home and post-event depression sets in and you realize, man, I'm not going to get to see all my friends for a little while. What a big-time bummer. So enough bitching about my travel experience. I want to focus on the event itself, which I think overall was very well run. I had a really positive experience as talent. You know, when you're hosting a panel like that, the producer is so fucking important. A good producer has the power to make the show awesome, keep you really organized, remind you when you're getting a little bit flat, poke you to remember when to do sponsor plugs, and they can make it really easy. It's like handing you the event on a silver platter, and all you have to do is just execute it. Keep your tone, keep your wits about you, remember good posture, remember to smile, and it's all pretty straightforward. A bad producer has the power to completely fuck it up. Add stress levels to you as the host, not give you feedback on your tone and presentation, talk to you while you're talking so you start to stumble and look like kind of a dipshit and make that what face? You know, it's an art to be able to communicate to the person that's hosting the panel and not distract them. Because, you know, even if they're talking to me while someone else is talking, I still need to hear what that other person is saying so that I can reply or prompt a follow-up question or whatever. And no one else on the panel knows when the producer is talking to me. So sometimes, you know, I'm not really listening to them and they have absolutely no idea, or, you know, that someone else on the panel doesn't know that this would be an ideal time for them to jump in, for example. So a good producer is really important, and the producer we had at ESL was really, really good. And it wasn't just that he was organized and knew when to talk to me and how to talk to me and all those kind of things, but I noticed he had this energy. You know, he was one of those people. Have you ever been around one of those people that are just genuinely positive? You know, like after you talk to them for 5 minutes, you just think, man, you know, I could do a little better to have some more positivity like that in my life. You know, and this guy was one of those types. You know, he would often just sort of say like little funny quips into the mic, little things to help just loosen up the mood. Instead of saying like, you need to loosen up, he would try to say a little joke or say something funny to kind of get me to internally smile, and I could kind of harness that energy and channel it towards the panel. You know, it's those little things. It's setting the tone, not just in a textbook kind of formulaic way, but setting the tone and, listen, this is the level I'm on right now. I need you to come to my level. I need you to take some of this energy and fucking put it out there and get the other people at this energy level. So it was a real pleasure working with the guy that was kind of running the show, working the in-ears. He really made it as easy as possible for me to overcome missing all of the rehearsals and you know, dealing with the sleep deprivation that came along with the travel nightmare that I had. So that was really a lot of fun. We had some very, very minor tech issues in terms of Steam going up and down. There was a problem with the Observer PC a little bit, but all things considered, it was a pretty damn smooth event. You know, no PC failures, no significant pauses. I think there was only one time when we really had to fill on the panel when but what I mean by fill is not just, okay, we need to extend this conversation. Normally it's 5 minutes, we're going to take it to 10 minutes, but fill is in, I ran out of talking points 5 minutes ago, and we've got another 5 minutes to go until they can fix the issue. All right, boys, let's keep talking about heroes. Hey, what do you think about Batrider? Are we ever going to see that guy this tournament? I don't know. You see, you know, you just start scraping the bottom of the barrel. At the end of the fill session, I said, guys, I was about to bring up Bloodseeker. That's how fucking into the trenches we were going and how few talking points I had to bring up these teams. And it was before the Fire versus CDEC series. And one of the issues is, like, there's only so much you can talk about with CDEC. They didn't play any games since TI. It seemed like they were going to do the same exact strategies they did at TI5. That's basically exactly what they did. So what's there to analyze? Okay, this is what I did, and this is what they're doing, and this is all we have to talk about. And Charlie, to be fair, you guys did pick Batrider. It was pretty awesome, I have to admit. So it was really smooth in that sense. And again, it makes my job a lot easier when I don't have to fill and just keep talking about stuff that's not really that relevant and, you know, trying to make up talking points. I also want to give a big shout out to Mott. That was his first time on a big panel, kind of like that. You know, that was really one of his first shots. We had him on that panel, actually, I'm talking about, where we had to fill the CDEC versus Fire series, since he's kind of the resident NA expert. He was just attending the event as well, and ESL said, hey, this seems like a good fit. Mott, how would you like a trial? Of course, he was excited as hell to have a chance on the panel, and I thought he really did quite well. He had a lot of really good talking points, and, you know, there were a couple times where I think he kind of wanted to jump in but wasn't quite comfortable, you know, interrupting Merlini or, you know, kind of cutting in with a snappy point. But for his first time on a big stage like that, I think he really he really nailed it, and I'm hopefully that bodes well for Mott in the future in terms of being able to show up as kind of an analyst on some more panels in the future. Who knows? Maybe he'll be involved in the major. You never know, right? And it was also interesting working with Melk. That was really the first time I'd not only worked with Melk, but the first time I'd ever even really talked to him. He's like one of those enigma types in the esports space for me that I've obviously know who he is. I've known who he is for a pretty long time, but no one's ever been like, hey, Milk, this Zyori guy, he's pretty cool. You should hang out with him. Like TI5 Hub. That was a great bonding experience for me and most of the other talent in the space that I didn't know that well, like Durka, for example. I'd never really met him before that event. Shane, I met him in passing, but that event was the first time I really talked to him and kind of made friends with him. I've literally never even talked to Melk before. I showed up and they're like, yeah, you and Melk are going to be working the panel. It's you two that are going to kind of hold it down. I'm like, cheers. Okay. Hopefully this is going to be good. They really wanted the panel to be loose and have a vibe, a much more casual tone and back and forth, where people can open up the shirts a little bit and not be afraid to flame. And that is one thing that Melk is not afraid to do, the call-outs. I remember that one game, I think it was the first set of semifinals, maybe, where the Venomancer had like 3 fights in a row where he just couldn't get his ultimate off. We were watching it, and it was like, okay, Veno needs to ult, Veno dies. All right, buyback. Here we go. High ground defense. Veno 4 stabs in. Again, instantly orchided, dies, doesn't get his ult off. We're like, okay, great stuff. All right. Next fight, they're defending the top barracks. It's like, all right, Venomancer, it's on you. We're all watching this guy. He 4 stabs in. Again, right hit with the orchid, dead. No buyback, and that's it. The game ends, and they lose both of their barracks without the Venom using his fucking ult. It's like, you had one fucking job, you banana fucking son of a bitch, and you couldn't do it. And, Melk brought out the flamethrowers. I have to admit, it was good to see somebody willing to step up and be like, no, that was shit. You can't do that. You gotta remember to use your ult. It's pretty important when you're playing the Venomancer. So it's good. And, I can kind of encourage people to bring out the flamethrowers, but I'm not the one to do it. I'm the one that's hosting the panel and kind of holding down the fort. It's not my place to hardcore flame the bad plays. I can kind of point it out and set the stage, kind of, as they say, give them a layup for the slam dunk, but I'm not the one that can actually do the dunk. So it was a pretty good dynamic overall. I really felt the panel had a pretty good vibe. They gave me a good pool of people to work with. We had Mott as a guest, and a lot of the English-speaking teams didn't win, but the idea was to have somebody from the winning team come on the panel to do a little post-game interview, have more of a back and forth. We had Puppy after the first series, and I thought that was really quite good. We had Misery on after Secret won the semifinals, and of course we need to talk about the finals panel because PPD. I really like that PPD is one of these players that kind of gets it, so to speak. That he understands that there's a lot of value in putting himself out there as an analyst and, revealing strats, so to speak, talking about what he feels like are strong, feels like what isn't. And, he didn't do the whole finals, but the fact that he was willing to say, okay, we lost the first round, but I still want to put my face out there, be a good sport, and, analyze this final series. Speak anecdotally about some of the things we played against Vega, speak about these teams' strengths and weaknesses, and it adds so much to the panel when you have a player on there that, played in the fucking tournament, the favorites, the TI5 winners, the captain and drafter. I thought that was really cool. I mean, Peter's really easy to work with in those kind of panel environments. Sometimes I wish he'd get a little more fired up, but he's kind of got that purge thing going on. It's just his style, and it's much easier said than done. I can get out there and kind of make some jokes and try and be energetic and pound a few Red Bulls. It's more difficult for someone who doesn't really do that as a living. He's there for the knowledge, not the presentation. But I thought it was really quite good, and it's as a host, I really appreciate a player willing to come onto the panel and share some of that insight with us because that's that's what I'm talking about. It's so much easier for me to just talk to someone like that and dig in to what they did earlier in the tournament and kind of some of the pitfalls that they fell into. And it was quite the interesting storyline in terms of EG getting eliminated in the first round. And not only that, but Vega, the team that upset EG, going on to win the entire tournament. I felt like the finals were absolutely incredible, especially relative to the rest of the tournament. Some of the other games were a bit more one-sided. You watch the series like, okay, this team is they're clearly performing better in this series. CDEC winning the first round over Archon, you kind of think, well, Archon, probably one of the easiest matchups at the beginning of the tournament, and CDEC they look okay, but they don't really look that great. They don't seem to be quite in that same form they were at TI5, and it became very apparent why after that first winners interview when he said, we've basically just been hanging out, we've been chilling and taking a break, and now we're slowly getting back into the practice regimen for some serious Dota 2 action. So I just totally lost my fucking train of thought, but it was it was a really interesting storyline with Vega going all the way, and it's really cool to me to see teams like this. Like, hopefully this is the beginning of a trend with the new major system and the way things work. I love that Vega didn't fucking change their roster after TI5. Merlini talked about this on the panel. It's really demoralizing to get invited to an event like that. Well, okay, I shouldn't say get invited. To qualify for an event like that, you're in the play-in tournament, you're like, okay, there's 4 teams, we got to fucking do this in the mini-tournament to get things started. You lose. So you spend the rest of your stay in Seattle sitting there watching everyone else who qualified for the tournament duking it out for big money, and you're just sitting there like, man, we were the worst of the best. Of the top 20 teams in the world, we were at the very bottom of those 20. That's not a good feeling. Most teams don't have the ability to overcome that in terms of saying, okay, this is a learning experience. We're going to buckle down. We're going to knuckle up, and we're going to use this as a positive experience so that we can propel ourselves forward and become a bigger, better form of our current selves. Most teams would say, yeah, fuck this, fuck you guys. I'm starting a new team. Let's start over from scratch. Kind of that classic NA Dota mentality of just, all right, this didn't work. Let's start a new team. Let's just keep cycling until we find that magic medley of players. And I've always really hated that mindset. It was particularly prevalent in Heroes of Newerth, where I first started doing, a serious MOBA esports coverage, where a team would come together, they'd look pretty good, they'd get third in a tournament and be like, yeah, we didn't win, fuck this, let's make a new team. It's like, you can't really get over those hurdles and mature as a team unless you sit down and work through those struggles. You're never going to find that perfect team that just comes together, wins everything, cool, we didn't have to deal with any of that hard shit. That's what separates the truly top-tier teams from the mid-tier teams, the ones that can find constructive ways to work through those breakdowns in communication, identify reasons why you didn't perform the way you expected to in a particular tournament, and find a way to harness that and learn from your mistakes, That's part of what has made EG so great. They've maintained this core of a team for so long that they finally found that medley of players that were able to work through some of those difficulties and also have the skills to rise to the top. So for Vega, I think it's a particularly good storyline, not just that they upset the TI5 winners, but knowing that backstory of where they were at TI5 and how demoralizing of an experience that must have been to continue to push through and now win the first huge LAN after TI5, secure themselves an invite to the major. That is just fucking incredible. Not to mention, they've got a great play style. I really love the way that they harness that kind of classic CIS Dota of really aggressive, really run at you. But one of the pitfalls of that strategy is controlling the aggression. We've seen a lot of teams that have that play style fall into the trap where, well, they can upset teams, in a single limb tournament. They're really scary. They catch teams off guard, but it becomes kind of predictable, and there are ways of counteracting that really aggressive 5-man. I think we saw IG do that against VP very effectively. We went into that series thinking, all right, VP, they're going to run at him, they're going to be really aggressive. That's not historically IG's game. Are they going to be able to react to that? And IG came out of the gate fucking guns blazing. They were ready to 5-man, almost too much so. I remember those times where it's, okay, VP is pressuring down bottom lane. Fuck it, all 5 heroes, TP to the tier 1, let's go, boys, woo! And IG was ready to fucking fight. They brought that ferocity, and they set the tempo of the game. And you could tell Virtus Pro were kind of like, hey, man, that's our MO. We're used to being the aggressors that set the tempo of the game and getting our opponents outside of their comfort zone. Now IG is doing that to us. How do we handle this? And in a single elim tournament, the pressure is on to adapt. And of course, VP was not able to do it in just a single best of 3. And that's really what I thought Vega was going to fall into, like watching them leading up to the tournament, because their online tournaments had really mixed results. Everyone kept saying, well, they've played the most games since TI5. I'm like, well, that's great, but they're not winning that many of them. They're very 50-50. Like WCA, that's one of the big tournaments coming up at the end of this year. They went out in like the first round of the qualifiers. They didn't even make it till the end. I forget who eliminated them, but it wasn't. It was kind of an upset given that they've now won the ESL One New York. So I really just enjoyed seeing that team buckle down and controlling that aggression. They were able to stay true to their style in terms of being very aggressive in the lanes, maintaining the pace of the game that's comfortable for them, but they weren't taking unnecessary risks. They would get ahead and then go, okay, good start, guys. Now let's pull back a little bit. Let's farm through this mid game. Let's wait for them to make a mistake. Let's play our game, but not feel the pressure to constantly throw bodies at the other team. And it was really impressive to see how much they tightened up their play compared to what I saw from them just a few weeks earlier in the online play that they were engaging in. So all that said, fucking fantastic tournament. It was an absolute privilege to be invited to work that as the host, and I feel pretty good overall. Obviously, there are a lot of improvements to be made in just presentation, general dialogue, maintaining that energy. Sometimes I have this tendency to get a little bit flat, especially if the analysts aren't quite as bubbly as I'd like them to be. I kind of will sink down to their level instead of maintaining that energy up here and trying to pump them up a little bit. Definitely some things to improve, but I really felt overall pretty good about my performance. I was particularly happy with the closing of the tournament. I think I surprised the producer a little bit. Just his reaction. Man, that was a fucking good closing. I could tell that he was like, wow, I didn't think you'd close it so well. And the closing is difficult because you really need to manage energy levels. If you think about the audience, right? They're watching the tournament, things are getting exciting, and the finals are always the most hype, unless it's we're talking TI4 here, but in general, the finals are, the most eyeballs. Everyone's like, all right, I didn't really watch that much of the tournament, but these are the two best teams in the event. I want to fucking see what happens when the immovable object meets the unstoppable force, right? Let's see what happens when those two forces collide. So at the end of that, especially a series like that where it goes all games, and in that final game, it's pretty close. It's not like one team was ahead the entire time. It really came down to some of those last few team fights, and it was any teams for the taking through most of that third game. So when it ends, the crowd is just on the edge of their seat, just like, holy fuck, Vega did it! They upset Secret. The energy levels are up here, the cannons are going off left and right, players are on the stage just fucking working the body, not the fist, everybody's pumping. Dakota's doing that hype interview, everyone's yelling, the crowd's going wild. It's my job as the host of that final panel to take that energy, which is plateauing for the event, meet it, be like, that was fucking awesome, what an incredible tournament, go from the microcosm of that hype third game to more of the broad strokes of the tournament, talk about some of the really awesome things we saw in the days prior and all that stuff, and you need to slowly bring that energy level back down. You need to take people from up here and bring them down here, and then cut the show when people are still feeling good, thinking about all the positive things that they saw over the last few days. What you absolutely can't do is just go, all right, this event was awesome, we'll see you later, because you leave people hanging. You feel like there's no closure. It's like, man, I just had sex with my girlfriend for the first time. She's like, yeah, that was okay. I'll see you later. You don't see her again. You're like, but wait, what happened? I thought it was pretty good. I needed to wrap things up a little bit. You need to take people from, that was fucking hype, to, okay, this whole thing was awesome. I'm feeling good. We wrapped it up, and now it's ended. And we could have taken that pre-show or the post-game show a little bit longer. That was one area where I had a lot of flexibility. They said basically, bring it down, start the discussion, and then feel it out. If it feels like the conversation is still really interesting and back and forth, then let it go for a little while. And if you feel like things are getting dry and you want to cut it short, cut it when you think it feels best. And after the panel was done, the other panelists were like, were they pressuring you to end, or what happened? I was like, honestly, no. I didn't get any direction to end it, but I just felt like I didn't want it to drag. We had a really good just wrap up of that last game. The viewership drops off very fast, and I wanted to end with a punch. I wanted to end while we were still on a high note and the energy was there. Keep it crisp, keep it concise. Thank you to all the people behind the scenes. Thank you to all the fans. Drop the Jerry Springer line. Be kind to yourselves. Be kind to each other. We're done. Drop the mic and fuck off. And that's exactly how I did it. And I just felt like the closing was really, really, I felt like I stuck the landing. I think if there was one thing in that event that I was most proud of was just that closing being really concise, really high energy, and just really, really exactly what I wanted it to be, for better or for worse. So, it was fun. I really had a lot of fun, and I was real jittery at the end of that. To be fair, I had a lot of Red Bulls on that last day, but it took me a good 30 to 40 minutes to really simmer down after the finals. Right? People were talking to me like, "Good job." I'm just like, yeah, awesome. I'm like fucking tweaking out and stuff. It was really quite cool. I actually didn't really want to go to the after party that much because I was just so fucking tired by the end of the event. I was actually just just brain dead. So much caffeine, so little sleeping in the area. The times where I was awake, just felt like I was constantly just preparing and boot camping, and I just never really took a mental break from the time I landed in New York from the time when the event was actually over. But I did end up going to the after party. It was really quite fun. I know some of the premium ticket holders were a little bit disappointed that it was basically two parties. There was the VIP one on the fourth floor and the regular one on the third floor. It was kind of tricky. I had an issue with getting my +1 in, which was a little bit frustrating. It's like, it's always rough when the after parties have people running it that aren't really part of esports or the event, because normally like a Twitch like your standard Twitch after party for whatever it is, a DreamHack, even if it's an event I'm not working, they know who I am. I've been a Twitch partner for like 5 years, they know what I've been doing. So even if I'm not part of the event, they'll be like, oh, hey, Zyori, cool, yeah, come on in. They just give you a VIP pass. It's no big deal. All I have to say is, this is my girlfriend. You see this cute girl right here? Could you get me a pass? It might help me have sex later. Twitch, you don't want to cock block a cool guy, do you? And they go, no, not at all. Here you go. Have another pass, And you always feel like a dick when you have to do that. Don't you know who I am? But sometimes you got to kind of do that, and it didn't work for me in this scenario. I walked up and I was like, okay, cool, I recognize people. I was like, do you guys know who I am? They're like, no idea. I'm like, all right, well, how about I have this crew badge? Does that get me anything? They're like, no, it doesn't. Sorry. I'm like, you realize how hard a crew badge is to get? This isn't just like, oh, hey, you came to the event and have a crew badge. Like, there's like 30 people total that have this. This is like a big deal. I'm like, did you see the stream at all? They're like, no, I didn't watch it. I'm like, well, can't I just bring my girl to the party, please? And it ended up working out, but I had to jump through some hoops to make it happen. And it was, I think the biggest bummer is that it was 21 plus for the people that wanted to attend, for the premium ticket holders. I think that it's okay if that's very clearly disclosed early on, but it really sucks from like there's an old saying that I'm thinking of here that I'm often thoughtful of, is people don't remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. So it doesn't really matter if you put things in a nice box or you say something really politely. They're going to remember how they felt at the end of that conversation. Did you really listen to them? Did they feel like that their needs were accounted for, or do they feel like they were just kind of blown off and you gave them a lame excuse? And most people, everyone really in America, is understanding that, okay, it's 21 and older to drink. A lot of places like clubs or whatever are 21 plus to get in. That's just the way of it. I'm not 21. It sucks, but this isn't unique to this event. This is just unique to America having a ridiculous system for allowing people access to alcohol, right? So it's okay if when you buy the premium ticket, the after party will be 21 plus. If you're not 21, sorry, you just don't get that perk. That's digestible. People understand that. But when you don't know that and you make special plans to go to the party, you're wearing your Sunday best, you're looking forward to meeting some of your favorite players or personalities, you get there and they're just like, come on, idiot, you're not 21. What made you think you could get in here? You just go, well, I don't know. I didn't really think about it. I just wanted to party. That's just a shitty feeling because you're all pumped up and ready to jam, and then, you're all dressed up, and then you just go grab a burger at McDonald's and go jerk off by yourself. And it leaves you feeling kind of like, I was hoping for a little bit more tonight. I was hoping for something a little bit better than that. So I think that was part of that really emotional reaction that we saw on Reddit yesterday or the day before about the after party, where it's kind of just a breakdown in communication, and I totally understand why some of the people that weren't 21 that showed up were just very disappointed. Like I said, I saw a lot of posts and that was like, I understand why I couldn't get in. It just felt really shitty to go all the way there and then be turned away for something that I very easily could have just said, okay, I'm not going to go to the party. I'm going to find something else to do to celebrate my last night in New York. But for me, the party was pretty fun. It was at a bowling alley. I didn't bowl. That was the one drawback that I had about it, was that people kept pressuring me to bowl. And I was like, guys, my body kind of hurts. I've been standing all day. I'm fucking tired. My back hurts, and I haven't thrown a ball yet. I don't really want to hurl a 10-pound bowling ball at a bunch of pins right now. I just don't feel like it. And people kept making fun of me for not wanting to bowl. I was like, I really just want to get drunk and then go to sleep. That's all if they had Netflix here, I would be into that. I kind of just want to lay down and watch some television because I haven't done that in a while. And a lot of people, oh, it's the bowling alley, and right away I was like, oh, bowling alley, I don't know, but it was like a club that had, it was like a private bowling alley. It's like a club that has a couple of bowling lanes. It's not like a bowling alley that has a bar in the back. It's kind of the inverted business model. And of course, they've got like the neon lights, and it's trendy bowling. It's bowling for the cool guys. So it was actually really fun. I had a good time at the after party. I'm really glad that I went, even though I was really tired. Just a couple Red Bull vodkas, and you get perked up pretty quick. A little bit of the caffeine, a little bit of the sugar, all the other bullshit that's bad for your liver, and the Red Bulls. A lot of people have told me Red Bull vodkas are bad for your heart. I hope that's bullshit, because I've had way too many Red Bull vodkas. At this point, it's going to be a disaster, I think. So we are getting towards the tail end of this podcast here. Oh, no, we're not. We're only 40 minutes in. Okay, cool. So I do want to talk about the major a little bit. I mentioned the general storyline of Vega now getting invited to the major, and I'm sure it's based on the win from ESL Frankfurt. It was cool that Blizzard, holy fuck, somebody slapped me. It was really cool that Valve did this announcement thing again, where it sort of slow rolls the teams, and it's presented in a way that someone like Toffees can do a really cool talk show. Unfortunately for Moonduck, the timing was complete shit. We had the heads up, like, hey, if you guys want to kind of plan some content around this is the general time frame. It's like, well, this is a really good opportunity, and I'd love to, but unfortunately, like 2/3 of our staff are going to be traveling on the Monday after the tournament. And, I was at home when it was announced. Like, I was going to call into Toffee's show, but I fucking fell asleep. I sat there and I passed out hard. It was just time for one of those nice afternoon naps. I put on a little bit of Weezer, listened to the Blue album, and it just soothed me into that happy place. I was snoozing hard, but I can't say any of these invites are too surprising. I wanted to give a shout out to Knoxville and his stats crew, Scantzor, and whoever else was a part of this, where they crunched some numbers, looked at some ELO systems, and they actually predicted the top 8 teams that would be invited pretty much to a T, spot on. So those guys, man, numbers ain't bullshit. They know what they're talking about, and it was just impressive for me to see them get 8 out of 8. Very well done indeed. For those of y'all that missed it, it is EG, CDEC, LGD, Vici, Vega, Secret, Virtus Pro, and eHome were the 4 invites here for the first major coming up in Frankfurt. And, of course, the qualifiers are now underway. The Open is going right now. I believe that goes until October 10th. Or October 9th, there's a little bit of a buffer day, and then the regional qualifiers start on the 10th. We were going to do some coverage for the Open, but again, the timing was really difficult for us in terms of the travel back from ESL, and we did have some plans to try and do something with Faceit. I shouldn't say plans. We were talking to Faceit about trying to interface with them in the good studio for the Open coverage they're doing now, but it really would have been a travel nightmare for our group. So unfortunately, I can't say specifically what we're doing for the regionals, but Moonduck will be heavily involved for coverage of the regional qualifiers. That announcement is coming out later today. We will have an article posted with the details and all that stuff. I was hoping that it would be announced by the time this podcast starts, but just wanted to knock this podcast out. So yeah, I would love to talk about that stuff in detail, but I'm really looking forward to the regional qualifiers. I think every single one is going to be interesting. For the SEA qualifier, obviously Fnatic, I think MVP Hot 6 as well as MVP Phoenix are the top 3 contenders by a pretty good margin, though that region tends to be a little bit chaotic. The America qualifier, only 2 teams going through, Cloud9, Complexity, Digital Chaos, as well as Archon. Kind of the big 4, I think. Maybe Pain Gaming could make a run and turn some heads. Maybe Team Imagine can make some headlines as well, but of those top 4, I'm not really sure which 2 are best positioned. I think looking at Complexity as favorites for the regional probably makes some sense, but the America one, I'm really excited to see who ends up coming through. The Chinese qualifier is interesting also. IG, again, looking to be fairly heavy favorites there, but after that, the drop-off is pretty big. Most of these top Chinese teams have already been invited, so you've got CDEC Youth, that should be interesting. You've got Newbie, the Newbie Youth squad. Tong Fu should probably be in that top as well. That's going to be an interesting qualifier, and then, of course, the prized European qualifier, per usual, the most stacked. Every single team, I think, has a a good chance to make a run towards the top. You've got 4 Clovers, the 5 Youngs, Alliance, CIS Rejects, Monkey Business, Navi, Ninjas in Pajamas, and then, of course, Stark Esports. Who were Stark Esports? They are a team that we know that just picked up a new sponsor, and I am forgetting because I'm still fucking brain dead from not sleeping this weekend. But a lot of really cool teams, and, of course, some of the top-tier teams we're all well aware of are going through the Open Qualifier. Empire, as well as, I guess, Kaipi's already been eliminated. Oh, go party on, Garth. So I do want to watch some of the Open Qualifiers. I was actually thinking about just doing some good old-fashioned casual Zyori coverage, of the Opens. Just pop on the stream, call up some of my friends, and just, fuck around, drink some beers, and talk about some of the matches. I may still do that. It kind of depends on what I have planned for the next few days before we get geared up for the regional qualifiers. Temporarily set up shop in South Jersey, but I also need to figure out where I'm living. That's becoming a stressor in my life. My holiday in Europe was incredible. I think it was the perfect amount of time. After I left the BTS house, I drove back across the country. I had a week in Jersey, and part of the reason I went to Europe was because I just wanted to reset a little bit. I wanted to reset my perspective, put myself out of my comfort zone, force myself to, live by other people's norms and eat food that I wouldn't normally have, and just get that fresh perspective on the world and put myself in a place where I'm not completely comfortable. And it was the absolute perfect thing to do. I didn't want to be sitting at my parents' house alone, just working on Moonduck stuff in the corner in the darkness and wondering where I want to go and what I want to do and kind of who I want to be. That's just a little bit depressing when you're 25 years old. I'm a little old to be casted out of my mom's office, So it was kind of the perfect trip. I've got some stuff planned for the middle of October. We're probably going to be a little quiet Moonduck-wise for the second half of October, beginning of November. A couple of our contracts ended up falling through. I'm going to have to blow my nose here. You're going to have to excuse me. Oh, man. That's really great. I'm glad we could share that experience together. But we are going to be a little bit quiet for that kind of interim period on Moonduck. We're going to continue doing What the Duck. Maybe we'll have some fun content streams, shit like that. And then we're going to kick things into high gear for the latter portion of this year. So all that stuff, there's just a lot of planning, and I've kind of become one of the lead business people that's doing the development for the company. So I have plenty of work to do kind of behind the scenes, so to speak. And I feel like a month in Europe was the perfect amount of time. I had a lot of fun for I would say 80% of it. It was just, this is awesome. This is an adventure. I'm having a lot of fun and I'm relaxing. And, the last couple days I started feeling like, I kind of want to get back to a country where I can read the languages. I kind of just want to go back to my comfort zone a little bit. I want to set up home base, get back into the flow of work. I was really quite burned out after leaving BTS of just all the politics and the stress of living and working with the same people and that kind of shit. It was really quite nice to really reset and at the end feel like, okay, I'm ready to get back to real life. I'm ready to go back to the States, figure out where I want to live, set up shop, and, get back into the flow of a normal human work life, And that was a really good feeling. That was the feeling that I knew I didn't have when I got back to Jersey, that I needed to find a way to get back. And Europe did that. It's funny how you Euros will do that. You make Americans be like, this place is cool, but kind of want to go back to America. The Netherlands is awesome, but riding bikes is weird, man. I kind of like driving around. I will have to say I finally got used to using public transit, and it feels weird now to go back to driving everywhere that I need to go instead of just hopping on a train and, I got my little bus card. Okay, cool. It's all free. Awesome. This is sweet. I paid $100 and I can go wherever I want for the next month. This is a bargain. It truly was. I had a great time with Heaton as well. We played a lot of games. He introduced me to Counter-Strike. I finally bought Counter-Strike. CSGO. Oh my god. It's really fun. I'm still rank 1. I'm really shitty, but I'm finally starting to at least enjoy it. I've been playing it a bit more. So, you may see me streaming Counter-Strike from time to time. My stream is going to be continue to kind of fluctuate in activity. I did need to take there was a much needed break there while I was in Europe, and now that I'm back, I need to set up shop here. I got a whole computer set up. I'm going to be streaming at least a little bit more. I'm going to get back into the pub games and stream semi-consistently, and the podcast should be coming back to a somewhat consistent manner as well. There was a period where, leaving BTS, I really wanted to get on a content schedule and be really fucking serious and snappy, but fuck that model. To for lack of a better term. I remember talking to Pyrian Flax about this, how he felt like he didn't want to put his creativity on a schedule. And I've been doing this podcast for like 3 years now, and the entire time I've been saying to myself, okay, at X point in the future, I'm going to be doing podcasts, same place, same time. Every Monday I'm going to put out a new podcast, and it just doesn't work for my alternative lifestyle. It just doesn't fit into the way that I, value doing podcasts. I think I'm going to continue it being kind of just not really scheduled, and whenever I have interesting shit to talk about, I'm going to do a podcast, and when I don't, I'm not going to podcast. And when I have cool guests, we can work it that way. And that's the same approach we're taking to What the Duck. Originally, we were going to do every Thursday, we're going to do this podcast, and after a few weeks, it became apparent, why are we doing that? Does this, a lot of what's cool about Moonduck is we have access to all of this talent, all of these ideas, and we have the freedom and flexibility to just say, is this really in tune with what our audience wants? Does this actually make sense, or is this just us taking elements of a business model that doesn't really work for our core demographic? And I just hate the idea of saying, all right, guys, we don't have any talking points. We only have half of our ideal staff here, but it's Thursday at 6 o'clock. We got to do What the Duck, or our audience is going to be upset. Our audience would much rather have interesting talking points, top-tier content with good guests, with all of our hosts there, around a time when it's relevant, than making sure that we hit that schedule every Thursday. We're the generation of ADHD. Everybody just wants snappy shit as quickly as possible. That kind of scheduled, formulaic bullshit, that's like TV guide shit. How many of the people that watch esports are like, oh, better check the TV guide for the schedule because I'm going to be free tonight at 8 o'clock and I want to see oh, sweet, I Dream of Genie's going to be on. I can't wait to see what happens in this episode. Nobody does that anymore. It's more like, oh, I'm on Twitter. Oh, shit, Synderen's streaming. Woo, yeah, let's check it out. So it's a newer way of approaching the model, I think, and I think it makes a lot more sense. For just what we're trying to do, and for me in the podcast, it fits my kind of creative cycle, I guess, if you want to put a pretentious label on it. So the finals for ESL New York, it was kind of a time constraint, basically. That's all it comes down to. I believe it was intended to be a best of 3, and just the communication didn't flow down properly. I did misspeak on the panel saying that it was a best of 5, but that wasn't like a last second change. It was always intended to be a best of 3, and there were some breakdowns in communication. Elimination mode ended too quickly. Yeah, I totally agree, man. We really just needed a proof of concept for elimination mode. So now that we have that, we definitely want to do something with it again in the future with the cool web interface and all that stuff, hopefully expand it outwards. Don't forget about Captain's Draft as well. I know it's been a while since Captain's Draft did see 2.0, but there are definitely plans to do more stuff with Captain's Draft in the future. Like everything else in the Dota space, it takes a lot of coordination, a lot of logistics, and time, but there will be more of that kind of fun, whatever, alternative content. I don't know the right word for it, but those kind of fun game modes that are still competitive, but not your classic captain's mode, that kind of bullshit. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to, man. A lot of good shit coming up. Also, a weird aside, I want to get, I think I want to see how many pitchforks are raised here. I think I want to buy a Mac laptop. I don't know why, but I kind of want to. I want to try something different. So I have my laptop now. It's an Asus gaming fucking. It's got some power tools, and it's a little too big. That's what she said. It's so fucking heavy, and it doesn't fit in my cute little backpack. I have to carry around my big, massive fucking chode of a backpack for it to fit in there, and it's just like, I'm almost always around a desktop. Now I spend a lot of time broadcasting where I'm just around big, beefy computers that I can game on. The amount of time that I'm like, good thing I have my laptop with me so that I can play Dota on the go, that happens almost never. It happened once in the last, year, So I think I need something a little smaller. I want to go the Ultrabook route, but my laptop is really good. It's got some power. It's got an upgraded hard drive. I'm trying to sell it. I think I want to go the refurbished route. Like, all right, I'm going to sell this computer. Is it weird to eBay things? Is it weird to put computers on eBay? Because I have not sold something on eBay since I was in 7th grade. Back when it was cool, and I was like, Dad, I got this old CD I don't listen to. Can I sell it on eBay for $10 and charge somebody $5 shipping, and then you pay for the shipping, so I really make back all the money I spent on this CD? That was the last model of laptop or of eBay that I really used. So I first need to get rid of my whether it's a Mac or not. I can't legitimize just buying another laptop and letting this one go to waste because this one's only a year old and it's really fucking like I can stream from it. You know, it's really a good computer, and given how beefy it is, it only weighs 6 pounds. It's not one of those like desktop replacements. Like, all right, here's my cell phone from the 80s. I have to carry it around in its own bag. You know, it's not one of those like 10-pounder fucking bricks. It's just, you know, it's just not like super light. It's not an Ultrabook. So I see somebody talking about, oh, the Asus ZenBook. Okay, the MSI Stealth 4K. Okay, anything greater than that. I want the magnetic charger. You know, that's really what I mean. That's what I value in the Macs, that they've got the charger that's magnetic. That shit's so fucking cool, man. That's the future. I want it so hard. I asked Merlini what he thought. He was just like, oh, if you want a laptop for power, don't get a Mac. He said the only reason you should buy a Mac is if you want to look cool, because they do look cool, and people will think you're trending. And as soon as he said that, I was just like, I want to look cool. I don't know. That sounds kind of. I like my iPad. You know, I got the old Sixer here. This baby's pretty nice. It hasn't bent in my pocket yet. All those wet blankets bitching about they all being all bendy. I'll buy your laptop for $25. Is it weird if I put something on eBay and then tweet about it and be like, hey, you could buy Zyori's laptop. I'll sell you the data for twice the price. I feel weird about tweeting about selling things on eBay. I don't know if that's standard practice. You know, like you're not allowed to tweet about your Reddit threads. Are you allowed to tweet about your eBaying? Surely eBay doesn't give a shit about that. I don't know. They're good for casual browsing and random productivity. All right. It's really weird to tweet about it. Windows rocks. Now that is just bullshit. I mean, the one thing I like about Windows is I know hotkeys really well. I'm like, it's cool how like someone that's slowed the computer, I can sit down and I can use a Windows computer without a mouse. You know, I know most of the hotkeys. I can flip around. People are like, oh my god, you're so fast with the computer. I love that look that old people have when you're using hotkeys because they don't even know what hotkeys are. The whole idea of like, wait, you don't have to click on it. They don't know that. That's totally like, damn, you crazy youngins. What do you man, the computer. I love that. I definitely can't do that with the Mac at all. The Surface Pro 4 just came out. You know, one of my friends actually bought a Surface, and he liked it. He was like, I don't want to use any shitty Mac programs. Dance game. It's like, well, all right. I have not used Windows 10 yet, though. I've seen Pimp Muckle bitching about it enough that I've kind of thought to myself, I don't know if I really want to make the plunge to Windows 10. I mean, Lord knows Windows keeps telling me, hey, you've got a free update. Hey, we already downloaded it for you when you weren't paying attention. Yeah, you want to install it now or later? Or how about right now? Does that work for you? Fuck off, man. I don't want to install this shit. I don't trust you to migrate my data. You didn't do it well in the last 4 versions of Windows, and I don't trust you to do it well now, and my data is important to me. Microsoft, very important. OS X is a real pain in the ass. Man, I like this. I like the spicy debate that we've sparked here in Twitch chat of Mac versus Windows. It's just that Mac is shit. If you're using Windows 8, just fucking get Windows 10. Man, you guys are so feisty. Oh, man, this is good shit. So either way, all right, so I need to figure out how to eBay my laptop. It'll be kind of hard to part with. It's got a 500 gig solid state in there. That was like a $200 hard drive, man. I kind of want to take it out and put the old shitty one back in there, but I don't know. If I can sell it for an extra $200 because of that hard drive, then that's fucking value town, you know what I'm saying? Windows 10 is fucking fast. All right, fair enough. So I think that brings this podcast to an end, folks. I just wanted to plug my computer. If someone is actually interested in buying it, just PM me somewhere and we'll talk about it, even though I'm not holding my fucking breath. So, yeah, that's it. The next Zyori Podcast should be coming out soon-ish. TM for the major regionals. I think I am going to try to record a podcast with somebody in person. And again, I'd love to give you some more deets about that, but you're going to have to be a little bit patient. Put it in the parking lot and wait for Twitter to answer all of your woes, man. Make sure you follow all the social media, all that shit, Zyori.tv, ZyoriTV, yada yada. You know where to find it, folks. That's it for this podcast. We'll see you next time for podcast number 84.